Hey, what's up, good people? It's another Fired Up Casey episode. It's your host Zeke and Gang. I'm bringing you that fired up inspirational podcast. Today, man, I'm gonna be joined by a motivational, man, inspirational, just fired up, energetic mentor that is gonna come on here today and talk about some awesome stuff, man. I am honored, and I am already, you can see, I'm already fired up to get him on the show. The man we're having today, he is a dynamic and a passionate leader with a strong entrepreneurial spirit that lives by the word greatness is a choice. Therefore, choose to be great. No better word said than that. He is the co-founder and managing partner at Jamison Perry, a Lenexa-based small business that provides recruiting, staffing services, and he's also the president and CEO of 3E LLC, which stands for Emerge, Evolve, Excel, a provider of talent management consulting, career coach, and life coaching. Let us make welcome the legendary, the one and only Mr. Jermaine Jamison in the house. Let's make some noise. Welcome to the show, sir. Happy to have you here. I'm excited. I'm already pumped up.
No, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate the invite. I'm looking forward to just having some conversation. Let's get it going.
Yeah. How you doing today? Let's start with that. How you doing?
Oh, I'm fantastic. You know, every day when you can get out of bed and see the sunrise or the sunshine, I consider that a win. So, you know, things are great. How things on your end?
It's going great. I'm feeling a little bit cold, but I mean, it's okay. It's just one of those things, you gotta get through. But I'm good on this side. I'm good on this end. You know, it's a beautiful day out. Might go out today, take a walk or run or something like that. You know, just taking that weather in. But I love your background, by the way. Tell us a little bit about the JP and the pink, the orange in the background.
Yeah, so when we moved into the office, it was kind of, bare, didn't have a lot of energy or excitement to it. Mm-hmm. And the color, was our company theme color. So when we came in, we said, how can we have Jamison Perry represented and pop when people walk into our office? And so that's the color that we decided to go with. And so so it could look pink, but it's actually orange, and that's just our company color. But I'm glad you like it.
Oh, it's awesome, man. It's awesome. I wish I had some of that flavor. My background is a little bit like a brick wall, but I need some flavor in this house, man. I need some of that spark. But man, I am excited to have you here. Man, I am humbled to have a leader like yourself coming here today. Now, I know I'll give a little bit brief background about you, but just kind of tell people a little bit about who you are. Your kind of like a little bit about your motivational history. Tell us a little bit. You know what? I'll leave that for later. Just tell us a little bit about your motivational history and how you got to where you are
today. My motivational history. I think we have someone.
Yes, I think we got Mr. Jason in the house. Sorry, Mr. Jason, you can turn on your video. Let's see you.
Hey, sorry guys.
You are totally fine. You're totally fine.
I think I was in the wrong link.
Oh.
I clicked on the link on the calendar, and I was like, it said I was waiting in the room because the host had another meeting.
That's my bad. That's my bad on technology. I should know how to do this. A couple months into I should be an expert in this.
Well, I was like, this is weird. I think because so I was looking. I was like, oh, and I went back to the emails. I was like, well, maybe I'll try this link, and then
yes.
Hey, this worked.
Yeah, you're here now. Welcome. Well, let me give a brief introduction to Mr. Jason. He is an accomplished basketball coach and elite skill trainer. He has an Amazon best-selling book. It's a transformational storyteller and speaker. So, welcome today, Mr. Jason himself. He goes by the hashtag act to impact and give life a chance to get better. Man, I'm honored to have you here today, Mr. Jason. Welcome to the FiredUp show. We have Mr. Jermaine here. Welcome. Ready to go.
Hey, thanks, Zeke. Appreciate it, man. Glad to be on here.
Yeah. So before you join, Mr. Jermaine was going to give us just a little bit bio by himself and his journey to where he is today. So go ahead, Mr. Jermaine. Give us that fire bio.
Yeah. So I'm born and raised here in the Kansas City area, so a KC native. After high school, traveled down the road to Emporia State, where I played college football and got a degree in human development and family studies. And then after I moved back to Kansas City, I kind of tried to figure out what it is I wanted to do. And I've always had a passion and love for people and helping people. And as a result of that led me on a drive and a mission towards giving back and helping people understand that greatness is a choice, therefore choose to be great. Because, you can choose to be good or you can choose to be average. But if you have those three options in front of you, why not choose greatness? But I think it's important to understand that when you choose greatness, it's going to require a little bit more skin in the game. And, that goes back to one of my favorite sayings is, never complain about what you don't have. Ask yourself why you don't have it. And if you're willing to have that level of honesty and clarity with yourself, then you will ultimately move in your desired direction to accomplish your desired goals.
Wow.
That's really good. Yeah. Thank you, Jermaine.
That's you. I actually use your quote as my starters at a point because that hit me hard. Now, Mr. Jason, your story is a little bit, more on also the motivational side of things. That's why I pretty much brought both of you here today because I am a novice. So I want to learn from both of you because you are all legends. Now, you had a negative thing that happened to you at a young age, losing your dad, something that should have pushed you down, but you were able to overcome it and use it as a boost for your career today. Give us a little bit of bio about yourself and how you got to be an author of a best-selling Amazon book.
Yeah, so it's almost been half my lifetime ago. It's 2003, and I grew up in a small town in Missouri, and I grew up in my parents were very involved. My dad was a hardworking guy. He was a blue collar electrician, and his one day, May 8th, 2003, I lost him to suicide, and it altered my life forever. And it's a day that I will never forget. But at the same time, it's it's a reminder too that life is meant to be lived with positivity. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be happy every day, but it does mean you can be positive even in your lowest moments. And so for me, that as I try to find my new normal in a lot of ways, because there was no bouncing back from losing anybody to a death, especially a suicide, with everything that becomes complex and confusing about that. But that just got me on a path of, eventually like, well, how can I flip this into a positive in such a, tragic, traumatic way? And it's been through, I decided to write my book, and that's kind of how I tell my story of what I went through as a suicide loss survivor. To try to show people like, hey, your life matters and people care about you, and we want you here tomorrow, and we can work through this with you together. You don't have to end your life. You can give it an opportunity to get better. And so that's kind of what I wanted to share my story is just give life a chance to get better as well.
Yeah, man, sorry to hear that happen. But man, I am, honored to have you on the show today, being that you were able to make that switch for yourself. I think, more than anything, it has to come from you being the person who's making the switch. It doesn't come from outside, because unless you understand where you are and where you want to go, you definitely not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. And like Jermaine said too, I had a choice, and you can choose to be a victim of your situation, or you can choose to learn from it, to feel those tough emotions, to work through the adversity, because a lot of times your pains become your passions, or your mess becomes your message. And you can learn to flip that as you work through those tough times. And that's how you can really help people, by a lived experience.
Man, Jason, I got to tell you, you just nailed it there. So I say something very similar to folks is, your success in life is not determined by your circumstances, but by your choices. And sometimes I feel like we go about our days and we focus on what we maybe don't know, haven't done, or believe we can't do, instead of focusing on what we do know, what we have done, and what we can do. And it's all about, the approach. And I say literally every single day in both of my companies, life happens to all of us. I mean, that is life happens to all of us, and we're all dealing with this pandemic right now. But I challenge everyone, ask yourself, what can you do today to make tomorrow better? Not just for yourself, but someone else. And it's really about approaching things with grace and humility, and really making an honest attempt to connect with people on a human level. So what you're talking about, man, in terms of telling your story and being vulnerable, that's awesome. And I think that is such a strong thing. And if we can get more people down that path of just saying, hey, here it is. This is the journey. This is the story. Can't change it. Have to accept it and own it. But let's figure out the positive things we can take away. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And it's, a question or kind of a strategy that I use for myself is it's called 2 questions to launch. And then the first question I ask it myself is, am I going to like the consequences of doing whatever I'm about to do? And then are 2 or more people going to benefit from it? And then if it's then I count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I just launch into action because I know I'm going to like doing it after the fact. Like, sometimes I don't feel like working out in the morning, but I know my body's going to feel better about it. I'm going to be a happier person, and, like I'm going to live longer, but, there's those sometimes you're just like, man, I don't feel like doing 25 burpees right now, but I'm going to feel better afterwards. I know I'm going to. So that's like a quick strategy just to get you out of that funk, to get you out of that mind fog, because laziness is Satan's greatest friend. And I think that, he puts those doubts, those fears, those, procrastinations because he doesn't want you to succeed. And as a man of faith, I'm like, man, you know what? I gotta squash that down because, there's a higher purpose for all of us here, in my opinion.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, let me, I'm gonna, give a personal example for myself. So I have probably like maybe 8 interviews that I have not edited yet. And I have been procrastinating on editing it because for me, editing is a hard job for me. I love doing the interviews. I love, posting stuff, but editing is like, it takes a lot of work. What would you tell me in that position of me being a person who wants to do this, but at the same time, it looks like a hard job to do? What are some action processes for me and other people out there who might face the same challenge? I have this and I really want to do, but at the same time, it looks like a bigger work for me to do, and it's a challenge for me to do it.
So I would say you're focusing on yourself right now, Zeke, and because you don't want to do it. And when you think about like other people, think about other people hearing your podcast and think about other people benefiting from hearing the messages that you are giving out to the world, the Kansas City Metro. Think about one person, like their life being changed because they listened to what you put on there. And that puts you in a place of enthusiasm, of excitement, and it really like gets you motivated because we are givers by nature, and when we learn how to give, Jermaine, you might want to add on to this, but I think I'm a lot more productive when I think of other people.
Without a doubt. And so, Zeke, I would even say impact analysis, right? Ask yourself how what you do or don't do impacts others, right? And as a parent, I talk to my 2 youngest sons all the time about, really understanding the impact of what they do. So they're both athletes, and we talk about the difference between being a good teammate and a good team player. And I said, it's about body language. I said, be great at all the things that don't require talent. Effort, positive body language, teammate comes off the field or off the court, high five, give them a pound. But don't ignore their presence in front of you. And so it's really about, again, going back to the idea of impact analysis and really asking yourself or being mindful of how what you do or don't do impacts others. And Jason makes a great point. It could be 1 million people that watch your show, or it could be 6. But if one person benefits from it and sees value and it helps them take something away that they can then use as a form of paying it forward to someone else, then that's what I would consider a win.
Yeah. And Jermaine, that's what kept me going from writing my book. I don't have a writing degree. I have a master's in sports management and an undergrad in education. But I was like, if one person read my book and it saved their life, then it was worth it. And that's what kept me motivated. Seeing other people benefit from the work that you do will drive your enthusiasm and your willpower more than anything else.
Now, speaking of that, because I think you guys point out a really specific thing that really got to me, because I believe, I am focused more on myself. Now, I think another challenge that most people face is, does my work really matter? I do something, I don't think I'm getting enough recognition that I need to. Should I even continue, or should I stop? What do you say to people out there who are, because they say it takes, correct me if I'm wrong, it takes, 10,000, how many hours to be a master at something? But I think.
Oh yeah, 10,000 hours I think is what
10,000
they
hours to be a
say.
master at something. And I think most people, including myself, neglect that early start of your career, early start of what you do. What is your people who are out there who are thinking, you know what, I really want to be positive, I really want to do this, but I don't think people are looking my way. People are seeing what I'm doing.
Hey, can I give you an analogy here?
Okay.
Would a farmer would he plow up all of his field if he saw in a week that corn wasn't growing?
No.
Why not? Why don't think you would do that?
Because he's seen this happen before, so he has trust that the seed is in there and it's still working.
It's got to grow. You got to give things to grow, and if you don't give it the proper nutrition, the proper fertilizer, that kind of stuff, then yeah. But I mean, it's nurturing your garden. It's filling your mind with like. Of course, everybody has purpose. So I think if you're asking, does my work matter? Then make a reverse gap. Ask yourself, what were the most painful times of my life, and what are the most joyous times of my life? And that'll give you a blueprint of maybe this is what I should be doing with my life. And then it's going to matter to you, and it's going to relate to other people.
And I always, ask people to ask themselves this question: are you giving yourself the opportunity to live the life you want to live? And sometimes that's a question people struggle to answer, but then I say, let's hit the pause button and recalibrate. And let's ask that again. Are you giving yourself the opportunity to live the life you want to live? And then it becomes really about ownership and creating a personal definition of success and happiness, and really being able to just take a look at where you are today, where you want to be tomorrow, 5 years from now, and holding yourself accountable. It's like I said earlier, don't complain about what you don't have. Ask yourself why you don't have it. And it's time to roll up your sleeves, be true to yourself, and, move forward. And it's not easy. And I tell people all the time, it's okay to make a mistake. Just make it at full speed, right? As a coach, and I see that, my man Jason has a coaching background. Hey, it's okay to make a mistake. Just make it at full speed. If you are operating and you're running a drill, it's not about finishing first. It's about conducting the drill at a speed that allows you to be successful. If you're supposed to go cone to cone straight line, well, if you finish first but you're rounding out, what good is that? You kind of have to just understand where you are, where you want to go, but don't be afraid to compete, because you will only win if you compete. And so there's a lot of things that go into it, but I believe it starts with, asking yourself the question of, are you giving yourself the opportunity to live the life you want to live?
Those are, you guys better don't click off. This is more to come. There's more to come. Now, let me ask this too. Because I think a lot of times people who are watching this are saying, you know what, I really want to make impact. I really want to do something great, Mr. Jermaine and Mr. Jason are talking about. But how do I even start? I don't even know what to do. How do I even start? What do I do? How do I get the funk out of my mind? How do I step into a different zone? What do you want to say to those people out there?
Jermaine, go ahead with this analogy this time.
Yeah. So I would say your success will equal your effort. And the purest form of it is your success will equal your effort. And I believe everyone has the potential to be great, amazing, but it's believing that. It is understanding that no one outside of ourselves controls our effort, how we think. Now, if we allow that to happen, then that's different. But I'm of the opinion, if I want it, I'm going to compete for it and I'm going to earn it. It's like in business. Anytime I'm, engaging a potential client, I said, make me earn it, because that's how I'm wired. I want to earn it. I want to have some skin in the game, and I want to be able to, win or lose, say I gave it my best effort. And that's just the way I, approach those types of things, or, that's what I would, tell.
What about people who say, you know what, I'm unlucky, like I don't have luck on my side. A lot of people think, they don't have luck, like they don't get that luck, luck factor that helps them push forward. What would you say to anyone who say, you know what, I'm not that lucky. I worked this hard and then, man, it's just not going my way.
It's not always about hard work, in my opinion. It's asking yourself the right questions. And a lot of times we ask ourselves the wrong questions, like, why am I not lucky? Well, if you ask yourself, why am I not lucky? The way we are wired genetically, your mind is going to find reasons why you're not lucky. So what I do is a strategy of called empowering why questions, or called EWQs. And I ask myself, like, why does God have my back? Why does everything work out for my favor? Even if I don't like what's happening, even if I think that something is like, it seems like perceived as a negative situation, like, why is this going to turn out really well for me? And I ask myself like 25, 30 questions about like my different areas of my life. Like, why is my marriage getting better every day? Why do I have a great relationship with my kids? Why is my book a best-selling? And I ask these questions before they happen. And when you learn to do that every day, you'll start finding things that you'll start finding the answers that you really want. Because if you ask, like, why am I not lucky? You're going to find every reason in the book why you're not lucky. Right. So it's asking yourself the right questions.
You want to add something, or I can go ahead? Jermaine? Okay, cool. And I think that's important. I think my internship that I am at right now, shout out to Stanley Training, by the way. The quote that they go on is, it takes 3 questions to get to the root of the problem. Asking those deep questions to talk to yourself and answer, like, why is this not happening? Why should I be this person? I think the questions are really important. It's not all about always answer, but ask yourself those valid questions. Now, another thing I really want to ask is this. I believe every leader has a time when they meet themselves, when they truly meet who they really are, and being able to understand, who am I and where do I want to go? Now, I want to ask both of you, first, Mr. Jermaine, you got to meet Nelson Mandela. Did you, at a young age, make that switch? Like, yo, one day I'm going to be able to be this guy. What was that thing that made you go, let's go?
Man, that's a great question. So, so my upbringing was challenging, to say the least. So I was born to a 14-year-old, right? I was the oldest of 8. Lived in very impoverished conditions, and it was rough, right? And so growing up in that type of environment, I struggled with self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-worth. And those are things that, whether you're 8, 10, 12, it kind of strips something away from you. And, I think I was maybe 17, and I had kind of that defining moment. And that was when I realized asking for help was a strength and not a weakness. And so that was kind of, the first step. And then as, time went on and, went to college and finished and met my wife, started my family, when I had a chance to travel around the world with Sir Richard Branson, Sarah Blakely, and the 3 of us went to Mozambique to spend the day with Nelson Mandela and his wife, Gressa, had, dinner with him. At that moment, it was like, how did this kid, right, that grew up and had a pretty challenging upbringing, land here? How did I, of all the people on the planet, end up in Nelson Mandela's home with 2 billionaires and I'm just, this dad from Kansas. And so sitting in his living room and talking about leadership and what it really means to be a great leader, and that was tied back to selflessness, that's what really changed for me, because I've always had this desire to help others, but it was really about what was the reason. And it was like, because it's really not about me, it's about helping others understand that it's not, as I said earlier, your success in life is not determined by your circumstances, but by your choices. And that was the moment for me. And then from there, I was like, I really need to commit and go full steam ahead with giving back and being vulnerable enough to tell my story about, washing my clothes in a bathtub and standing in line at food pantries and all the other things that I thought were normal, but they were really abnormal. And I just had to, had to own my situation and not be embarrassed or ashamed to, share it, but just say, hey, here it is. Can't change it, but let me tell you the positive takeaways from those things.
That's inspiring. Mr. Jason, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I mean, and I've gotten, like, whenever I lost my dad, I, like Jermaine, had feelings of self-doubt, self-worth. I had negative emotions of anger, abandonment, confusion, a lot of things, and my ego got in my way because I felt like I could handle it all by myself. And it was whenever I was able to, like, get on my knees and, like, this isn't working. It was at my most vulnerable point where I realized I need to make a change because this isn't getting me where I want to go. And so I asked God for mentors. I asked God for people to come in my life to help me with the things that I needed. And sure enough, asking you shall receive. And it's almost coming like in droves now of people coming. And it's the more that I focus on giving, like what Jermaine said, that, I can humbly receive because I know I've given first. Too many of us think that we have to get ours or get mine or that kind of thing. But whenever you give yours, actually, whenever you flip that, you actually receive so much more. And when you really understand that, when you really grasp that concept, all you want to do is learn to give because you see the excitement on other people's faces, and people are just more drawn to you because they see you as a giver, not as a taker.
Ding, 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 my man. That's well said. And that's just it. It's, I'll take less or I'll take half to make sure 3 other people have a piece of it. And if the world had more of that, in my opinion, man, it'd be a much better place. Some people, what they're saying, start on third and think they hit a triple. I love being at the plate, swinging and missing, but having to make the adjustments so that when I do make contact, not hit the single, but just make contact. Okay, what did I change? What did I do to put myself in a better position to at least make contact? And then it's like, okay, what do I need to do to put the ball in play? And, just kind of a weird sports analogy, but that's kind of how I look at it. What do I have to change, right, to really move forward? So, Jason, no, that, man, well said.
Well, and you think about it, a lot of us live in a lack mentality. A lot of us think there's not enough for everybody, but the reality of it is, there's always going to be enough. And it's just what your mindset is. If you believe there's enough for everybody, then you're going to help other people. You're going to be in a place like, hey, man, here's this great job for you. This fits you better. Or, hey, like, you know what? There might be a really cute girl that, like Zeke, your buddies, like, oh, hey, you know what? Her personality fits you better. There's somebody better for me. But a lot of us think that we live in a lack mentality. We think there's only so much to go around. But I'm not saying like we should be wasteful or anything. But what I am saying is that there's always going to be an opportunity for you. You just have to be open to it and be able to walk through that open door as opposed to, like dismissing it or, like not wanting to do it, quote unquote. Take your opportunities that open to you.
Yeah.
And you'll be amazed what you end up having.
I mean, I think to put it in a more cliche quote is, whatever a man can conceive, he can achieve. If you can see it, you can make it happen. Because the fact that you saw it means that vision came to you. If you're able to make that switch from just having a lack mentality to having, an abundant mentality, it's hard seeing everything around you, but being able to overcome it and say, you know what, I see this around me, but this is not me. It's more like, I think the analogy where they take $100 and they crumble it up, stumped on it, and then they're very honest and say, how much is this $100 worth? It's still the same value, but it looks dirty on the outside. What is your value? It's not the dirt rubbed on you. It's you on the inside. You are the valuable thing on the inside. So I think it's something that a lot of people neglect. I think another thing that I really have learned from my internship too is that your action is on your identity. The fact that you failed at this task does not mean you're a failure. It just means that you failed at that task. You can do it over again, or you can do another task that you can succeed at. So I think it comes down to being able to identify yourself as a success, not by the action that you take, but being able to understand that you are an awesome human being. You failed at that, but you can also say something else. Now, switching the dynamic just a little bit, because I know that I am originally from Nigeria, and being in Nigeria and seeing poverty at the highest level, and being in towns where literally there was floods all the time, I had to go through floods to go to school and all that, and then coming to Kansas City where it seems like there's a huge divide between when you have the black community in Kansas City and when you have the white community in Kansas City. There's like this divide. Now, talking about Mr. Jermaine, you said you were had to go through food pantry and being able to stand in line for that. Now, that's a different experience, for you to have to go through. Now, speaking to people who are in those situations, how were you able to overcome those obstacles to come to where you are? What do you want to tell people out there who feel the same pain?
Well, the first thing I would say is it's hard, because sometimes you can find yourself, especially as a young person, you can find yourself in a situation that you maybe want to change, but you just aren't equipped to change it. Mm. But it's really understanding that at some point, it will all come together from the standpoint of understanding you get what you earn. Mm. It's hard. It's hard, no doubt about it. But, faith is key. Faith has to be at the core of it, in my opinion. And it's like I maybe shared with you a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Fear is faith turned inside out. Mm. And when a person is struggling with fear of, being successful or, what they can ultimately turn into, just don't be fearful of it. Just rely on your faith. Just rely on your faith. And then it's also a matter of betting on yourself, right? Is don't allow things you can't control to get in your way, or worrying about things you can't control. That's just wasted energy. Mm-hmm. And when people talk about barriers and obstacles, I just say obstacles are things you see when you take your eyes off your goal. Your goal is to take one step forward, then don't worry about the soda can that's in front of you. You just have to keep moving. You can kick the can, but don't stop moving. And so every situation is different. I just would tell anyone, look to the man upstairs, right? And just, rely on your faith or resources or ask for help. But everything is possible if you choose to make it possible.
Mm. Now, Mr. Jason, your story is really unique, coming that you are a young kid and then you lost your dad. How did you fight through that, being able to change your mindset, and what were some things that you had to go through as a kid? Did you have some financial issues, or what was that like, being able to make your shift for yourself to become where you are? And what can you say to people who are in that certain situation where they have, in certain ways lost something that is dear to them, but having issues being able to understand that I've lost something, but that doesn't really mean that I have to become this person because of something that I lost?
Yeah, I came to the realization that like what Jermaine said, I can't control what other people do or my outside circumstances, but I can always control me. And I made the choice to go to college at Missouri State, which was a year after my dad passed away, because I trusted my intuition. And a lot of us don't use our intuition properly. We dismiss it, or we're too distracted to really be in a quiet place to listen to it. But as I walked on that campus for my visit, and it felt right there, and I felt like I should do that. And so it was hard because my mom felt like I should stay at home because I was the oldest one. I was 17. It would have been easier for me to do that. but I felt the need to go there, and I did, and I met my wife there at the very end of college. And if I wouldn't have followed my intuition, if I wouldn't have followed that gut feeling, I wouldn't be in the place that I'm at right now. And so sometimes we can overthink things, and that was a huge thing that I struggled with, was overthinking my decisions. Like, is this the right decision? Oh, like, should I have done that? Or, whatever it may have been. But the reality of it is, when you are able to quiet your mind through meditation, through journaling, through, you name it, there's a variety of different ways, then you can really find your direction and find your purpose. And then you just got to give it time, and you got to give it, intentional action. And things will come when and here's the thing too, like, things come exactly when they're supposed to. Like, God's timing is so perfect, but we are impatient as people. Like, we want things right now. We live in a microwave society, but we're not willing to wait. I don't know if you would, what your thoughts on that, Jermaine? But I mean, a lot, and I feel like that myself sometimes. I just wanted to be here, but what I've realized is, like, everything happens when it's exactly supposed to happen.
No, I agree with you on that. It's like the old saying, be quick, but don't hurry. It's when people just are so, I need it now. Well, maybe now is not the time. Allow yourself to be patient. And until what you desire is in front of you, what else can you do? What else can you focus on? How can you continue to improve and make things around you or your personal situation better? But yeah, patience is something that, I know I've struggled with in the past, especially, as a business owner. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need it now, because if I don't have it now, then what am I going to do? Well, when I look back at some of those situations, it's like, it's a good thing it didn't happen when I wanted it to happen. And that's a part of, part of that whole, process of growth, and then really understanding, okay, if I'm doing everything I can to the best of my ability, and I'm not compromising my morals, my values, and my integrity, and if it doesn't happen right then, I'm comfortable with that. But if it happens down the road, it was supposed to happen then. So no, I'm with you. I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that till, like, you look back and you see, like, oh, you know what? I'm glad that happened that way, because if it would have went somewhere else, I was like, I might not be as excited about that. It's so it's just trusting the process, and it's winning the process too. It's like you said, giving your best effort, and then, when you give your best effort, you can be at peace with the results for the day, but then you start to see things multiply and magnify the more you keep giving it that momentum.
Wow. I think there's better words said than you guys have already explained it. I think there's a time, there's a time and season for everything, quoting the Bible, right? Where if you fast forward things, you kind of might disadvantage yourself for things that are supposed to come in the future. If you jump into things too quickly, you lose a lot, even though in the immediate time you think you're getting a lot. And I think that's something that me, especially a lot of young people my age, have this, microwave mentality of, we want it now. We have a phone, we want a Wi-Fi now, and everything has to be high speed. But I think, me personally, I drive fast too, so I want everything on the high speed end of things, But I think sometimes we have to be able to calm down and listen, and be able to understand what are the process of going from A, B, C, D, not A to Z. So I think this is an awesome conversation. Now, something that really touches to my heart a lot, and I actually watched a documentary yesterday. I don't know too much about this, but I've been learning just lately. Kansas City as a whole has if you go from Truce down to the east side of Truce, is a whole different story. Then you go down to the Plaza, it's a whole different story. Now, there are a lot of young people in the east side of Truce that are disadvantaged, and would hear, if they heard this, they heard about motivation, they're like, but we don't have access to these opportunities that other people do have. Now, what are you guys' perspective on how we can be able to start mending the divide and being able to, give some opportunities to young people out there who really want to be effective, but are not given the same opportunities?
So I believe, when you talk about, east of truth versus west of truth, I would tell young people, to look at what the people, so if you're a young person east of truth, try to identify what you have in common with the young person west of truth. What do you have in common that can bring you together? And then once you identify that, extend your hand or, build the bridge to bring people together. And display some active listening skills throughout those interactions, and trust the fact that those interactions are going to be authentic from the standpoint of it's just two human beings having a conversation. Mm-hmm. And I would say, as best you can, ignore the things that will potentially knock you off track. Everybody, I believe, wants to be successful. And sometimes the person that can help you get to where you want to go is on the west side. Now, you might be uncomfortable going to the west side, but if you recognize, hey, there's something over there that can help me accomplish my goal or gain clarity regarding my current situation, trust yourself, and then cross the line. But do so in a way that you don't compromise what you're ultimately trying to accomplish.
So,
yeah, Jermaine, I believe everybody has good in them, and I believe it's seeing other people's perspectives. So as I am trying to self-educate, and make the situation better to create more equality, I think for me it's like what can I, and it goes back to, again, I know we talked about this before, like what can I give, and how can I see you as a person of potential and all the gifts and talents that you have, beyond, race or anything like that. And it's just raising your awareness and being willing to lend a hand to somebody and say, hey, how can I lift you up? How,
right.
And I think that's where I think it has to start from a place of compassion, from a place of like a willingness to serve, and a willingness to get out of your comfort zone, like you said. It's a willingness to take a chance on somebody. Mm-hmm. I think that's the big thing too, is like, just give me a chance. And then I think whenever you get that chance, I think you need to make sure that you are showing a willingness to give your best effort. Because I believe that if you're willing to give your best effort, people are willing to work with you to help you get better. Mm-hmm. So it's all about, whenever you do get that opportunity, what are you doing with the opportunity?
Right.
Because a lot of times people will see, like, how can you handle the small things? And if I can see how you can handle the small things, then I might give you a better opportunity. That's so being willing to take okay, this is what I have right now. Like whenever I first started coaching, my first coaching job, I created my school didn't have a basketball team that I was teaching at. It was a charter school in downtown Kansas City. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a basketball team. We didn't win a game for 3 years. We lost every game. But those kids got an opportunity to play that they never did beforehand. And it gave them something to look forward to. And for me, it was like, if I want to be a basketball coach, this is my opportunity.
Yeah.
Then here we go. So let's just create your opportunities.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So I like to, if I can, I'd like to add just something, to that. Just self-advocacy. Be an advocate for yourself. I have people all the time that say, well, Jermaine, I struggle to talk about myself. And I said, okay, well, don't talk about yourself. Just present the facts about yourself. I'm just trying to get them to approach it from the standpoint is, I would love to be your advocate and I will do my best, but, you also have to be a self-advocate. And it's like the old saying, I can't want you to succeed more than you want to succeed. That's not going to work. And so it's really, asking people to just really just focus on and understand what makes them great. And then, building that bridge or extending that branch to just bring people together that maybe they think are different, but how do you know until you engage in some dialogue? Because, you might see someone that's 6'10" and someone that's 5'6", and you might think, well, the person 6'10" plays basketball and the person 5'6" doesn't. But hey, the 5'6" person could be an all-state point guard, and the 6'10" person could, it could be a chef. Who knows? But how do you uncover those things until you just connect?
Yeah.
I think those are awesome points. I feel like there's a lot of resources out there to help out. It's being able to reach out and find the ones that can benefit you. And I think on the other end is being able to also, like we were talking about, understanding like who you are and what are you reaching out for, and who do you need to reach out to have those conversations. Because I think a lot of people are scared of when they see big names, like how can I reach out to this big name? And I am not worthy of being in front of people. And it also comes down to who are you? Do you know who you are? Like being able to do that. On the other end of things, I also think there is when it comes to the history of Casey, being segregated, there's also this looming mindset of some people feel that they are disadvantaged when it comes to certain resources, and I think that everyone has a part to play in that. Being able to being a young person, being you guys are older than me, building a future where it's inclusive for everyone to be able to enjoy, where it's not just on the left side, where everyone has an opportunity to grow. I think that's something that has, in the history, that a lot of people have not been able to have those opportunities. When it comes to talking about OHA, I don't even have OHA KC, being able to build, resources for entrepreneurs in the inner cities to be able to take advantage. I think those are things that we all should be able to, either invest in or create opportunity like that for people to be able to interact with each other. So I think those are just some awesome conversation I need to just keep start happening as 2020 has just been a year of mayhem. There's a lot of good things going on in 2020, but we are all learning and we're all growing. But man, I'm honored to have both of you here today. We had awesome conversations, but I want to say this before we go to the end of the show. What is one thing you would want to say to a young person out there today? Something that really has resonated with you, that has helped you push forward and has helped you build a foundation for yourself. You want to let someone else out there know today that this is one thing you should know, or this is one thing you should start doing to help you grow.
Jason, you go ahead and take that one.
Okay. Believe in yourself. Quite frankly, you believe in yourself and believe that, what you desire, and find what resonates with you. And that's different than maybe what you want. Like what resonates with you, like what you feel connected with. So learning who you are and believing in yourself, I think, is the biggest thing that you can do. Understand who you truly are as a person and how you're made, and that will really help you find out what your passions are, find out what your purpose is. And when you have that, then the pieces fall in place.
When I would say to a young person, temper action with wisdom. I think that is key. And, don't be afraid to bet on yourself, right? If you want something, if you truly want something, is it more fulfilling or rewarding to, maybe ask or depend or bet on someone else to do it? Or are you willing to bet on yourself? And trust your ability to be successful. Everyone is capable of being successful. Everyone is capable of being great. So it's not always easy and it's not always comfortable, but if you desire to be great, then you will be great. And I'll say this last thing is, asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. When I think about my personal journey and, where I started and where I am today, I've had to ask for help. And that involves being humble, but truly believing that if people understand who you are, what you stand for, and what you want to accomplish, I believe people will naturally open their arms. But if you're not going to put it out there for them to know or understand, how will they?
Well, that's beautiful. I think I agree with you 100%. And I think it's important to identify what do you bring to the marketplace. I always ask people this question. When people think of Beyonce, what comes to mind? They think of music, and I ask them, when people think of you, what comes to mind? Literally, a lot of people don't know what comes to mind. And I said, that's the reason why people don't call you, because they don't know what to call you for. Until you define something that people need, they will never call you. When my tooth aches, I call the dentist. I know that's the need that he provides. So it's being able to identify the need that you provide and being able to put yourself in a position to be called by others. Now, we're coming to the end of the show. I want to ask you guys this: what are some services that you guys provide with your companies and what you do, so people can know how to reach out to you and connect with you and be able to do more business with you guys?
Go ahead, Jermaine.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, so I have two companies. So what you see behind me is JP, and those are the initials for my staffing and recruiting company, Jamison Perry. So if there is an individual or an organization that is, looking to acquire talent, or if there's an individual that's trying to figure out how to navigate, their career as it relates to getting back to work, as we've all been impacted by COVID-19, certainly help them with that regard. And then, my consulting company, 3E, which stands for Emerge, Evolve, Excel. That is a company that focuses on career coaching, life coaching, and talent management consulting. So, with the core of it, it's about helping people recognize that they can be great if they choose to be great, and they've accomplished great things. We just have to kind of take a trip down memory lane to help them understand those things. But, they can reach out to me at jamisonperry.com or email me at, they can email me there as well. And I'm just here to help however I can.
Awesome.
Yeah, and for me, my book is on Amazon. It's called Shattered by Suicide, Renewed by Resilience: How to Move Forward After Being Left Behind. I'm also a certified thought coach, which is it's similar to life coaching, but I really get into your thoughts because I believe, and this is scientifically proven, that your thoughts determine your emotions emotions determine your actions, and for every action, there's also an equal and opposite reaction. So if you can flip your thoughts, you can flip your mindset, you can change your life. And then finally, I'm launching a company that teaches essential life skills through sports. It's called 40 Athletes. And so our goal here is to change a generation by using sports as a vehicle to teach essential life skills and right now it's for like 6th to 12th graders. It's an online platform. And we are launching that here shortly, probably by the end of July.
Awesome. Well, man, this has been some inspirational and motivational talk we had today. I'm already just dialing down to the things I need to do, and I'm gonna go and get it done because you guys have really helped me, and I know you helped some of our viewers today. So thank you guys for coming on today. Thank you guys for being inspirational and being able to empower people with knowledge and wisdom that will actually help them take action, and not just saying stuff, but things that actually help people take action. So I am honored to have you guys here today. We're gonna end the show, but I'm just looking forward to whenever this COVID thing goes down. I'm going to be able to connect with you guys and be able to have some panel discussion and be able to continue this conversation about, leadership and being able to have this identity of know who you are and how you can get over obstacles to get to where you want to go to. So again, thank you, Mr. Jermaine. Thank you, Mr. Jason, for being here today. Great conversation. And hey, like I said, you can catch Mr. Jermaine at his profile on LinkedIn as well. Catch him, Mr. Jermaine Jamison, on LinkedIn, also on Mr. Jason on LinkedIn as well. Link up with them and get some fired up inspirational stuff from them, and they can get you going. So thank you guys for coming today. Thank you again. See you guys next time. But for now, signing out. Bye bye, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having us. Good.